for TV.
Welcome back to another episode of Doctor Who Too Hot for TV. We are the podcast that looks at all of those niche corners of the Doctor Who universe. We cover everything that is not the TV show. Today, I am joined by a Too Hot for TV regular, I want to say, the man who has never seen Can You Hear Me, but has watched all 6 episodes of Bill Baggs's The Stranger. It's Luke Molloy. Luke, how are you?
Oh, thank you for having me on. I'm really good. I can't wait to get into what we're talking about today.
Well, before we do, why have you never seen Can You Hear Me? I know you're not a big Geordi fan, but why that one particular episode?
Yeah, I had a bit. Yeah, why? I had a bit of a hissy fit when Series 12 went out. Reacted badly to it.
Did you smash your TV?
I might as well. I actually went the other way. I can laugh about people being stupid about Doctor Who now, but after Fugitive the Jadoon went out, I think I was quite severely depressed for about 2 or 3 days, which is crazy. It doesn't matter how much people tell you it's a TV show.
Yeah. Am I going to have to put a helpline number at the end of this?
Yeah, so it's quite apt. The one I haven't seen is Can You Hear Me? It's because I rewatched or tried to rewatch season 12 to go, what was I being over dramatic, and got to Praxeus, which I'd also not seen, and then just never got to Can You Hear Me? So I stopped watching it, Fugitive of Jadoon, joined back on at Diodati because I knew there was a Cyberman in it, and I just couldn't stay away any longer, and then finished the series from there. So the 2 in the middle I missed, and then when I rewatched it, just got to Praxeus and then stopped again. So I think subconsciously I might have stopped because there's always an episode of Doctor Who out there. I think that's something
that's interesting.
Yeah, like maybe I've become too completionist. It's nice knowing that at one point in my life I can sit down and watch an episode of Doctor Who
that you've never seen before.
That I've never seen.
With your favourite Doctor.
I know. I obviously know the cancer scene at the end, which we won't go into. I know it's to do with mental health, and I know there's weird fingers going on the bed sheets. But apart from that, no idea.
Exciting. Well, I'm glad you've got to look forward to that at some point in your future. Is there any classic Doctor Who you've never seen?
No, I've seen it all.
Nice.
And I think now, if a missing episode, I mean, when Enemy of the World of Web of Fear came back, that was still amazing. I was still like, oh, I want to see them, but I'd never sort of sat through the reconstructions or read the target novels or anything. So, I was really happy they were back, but I hadn't had that experience of sort of knowing they were missing too much.
Right.
Whereas I think if something like any of them, Marco Polo came back today, and I've sat through the Telesnap reconstruction and I've read the target novel, that I'd really be excited, engaged for it. And I think I'd do sort of the same with that. I don't think I'd rush it. I think I'd really cling on to.
Really, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I'd be illegally downloading it straight away, or whatever I could do to get it.
Well, it was on Apple for a moment, wasn't it? On the iTunes store, we all know.
Oh yes, iTunes ready. iTunes ready, still there, ready to drop Marco Polo. Along with those 9 episodes on Apple TV as well.
Oh yeah, the Savages too.
all the good shit. Most of the Space Pirates coming soon, or not? Who knows?
But I agree, it's strange. I can almost guarantee that Can You Hear Me is better than the 6 episodes of The Stranger. But maybe that's a too hot for TV for another day.
I think it is, you have been exploring the worlds of Doctor Who spin-offs recently, 90s spin-offs, I should say. You've seen Torchwood and you've seen the good ones, basically.
Yeah, I've been going through the BBVs in the real times quite quickly. And I don't think it's something you should do quickly, if I'm honest. But I sort of said, it's the 60th year, I'm going to do that side of the fandom.
That's how you're going to celebrate it. That's interesting, a bold way. Although, when it was the 50th, I went, I'm going to write a book about those things. So then I spent about 5 years, about 3 or 4 years, just sat there watching them and listening to them again and again and again and again.
Oh, God.
And now I'm writing a book for Telos Publishing about real-time pictures to celebrate 40 years of real-time pictures next year. And I found myself in a situation where I'm writing about their documentary output, fine, But then I've also got to find a new way to write about wartime and downtime and all this. So I finished the wartime chapter the other day, and I had to sit and watch wartime about 7 times in order to think of new things to say about it.
Poor you. I mean, I don't want to don't particularly want to insult anyone, especially when this is the podcast that champions the extended media. But I probably will only see all these ones. I think the only one that I've took away and I've gone, okay, that might be fun on a future occasion. So far would be Shakedown.
Yeah.
That's got some good stuff in it.
Shakedown's a hoot.
Yeah. And actually wartime, but I think half of that might be because it's just short.
Well, look, once you've completed the set, you'll have to come back and tell us exactly what you think about all of them in a very quick run through the entirety. In fact, if we get through all of them, we might as well wrap this podcast up completely. It's like our work here is done. But we're not here to talk about any old toss today, are we?
No.
So why don't you tell us the 2 things you've chosen for this episode of Too Hot for TV?
Okay, I've chosen 2 big introductions, really, in 2 separate medias. So we've got a very recent one, which is the 9th Doctor's explosive introduction on audio with Ravagers, which was a huge deal at the time. Christopher Eccleston back playing the Doctor again after 15, 16 years, something like that.
Something like that.
What people thought would never happen. And then going back a bit further, we've got the 8th Doctor's explosive introduction in the Doctor Who magazine comic strip with Endgame, which was quite apt because it's got the Toymaker in.
Too hot for TV.
Ravagers was written and directed by Nicholas Briggs. It was recorded during 2020 in lockdown. It was released on the 13th of May 2021. News-wise, there was absolutely fuck all going on then. I scoured the internet for Doctor Who news stories and nothing in May of 2021. We were all still in lockdown. It is what... Oh, we're just coming out of lockdown. That was this. But also out at the time was Doctor Who and the Underworld, the Target book on audio. The Lost TV Episodes Collection 5 was released by BBC Audio. From Titan Comics, we had Missy, Volume 2. From Big Finish, we had The Third Doctor Adventures, Volume 7. I didn't realise there were 7. BBC Books published The Ruby's Curse, and the collection Blu-ray box sets for seasons 12 and 19 were reissued as standard versions. Any of those releases, anything you particularly remember loving, loathing, or whatever?
I remember saying on my old podcast, Lost on Gallifrey, that I was definitely going to get the Ruby's Curse, but that never happened. I was very excited about the reissue of Series 12 on Blu-ray because I was one of those that didn't have it. And I was also one of those that when I got it, it had the discs had the artwork from season 10 printed all over it.
Brilliant. Which
they let me keep and then reissued the discs. And my co-host Chris was saying, oh, they're going to be worth like thousands of pounds. I'm saying, really? Who's going to pay for season 12 Blu-rays with Planet of the Daleks plastered all over it?
You never know. You never know.
You do never know. I don't have the Third Doctor Adventures Volume 7. I think, that's the one with the Gulf and Liz Shaw. I think that might have been the first one where they did a Liz Shaw impersonator on it.
Cast a dead woman's daughter in the same role that their mother played.
Yes. I can't comment on how much she sounds like her because I just don't know. But I did listen to Volume 4 quite recently. She's obviously got nothing to do with this, but I thought it was quite good.
I like those Third Doctor audios.
Yeah.
I mean, life is too short to listen to all of them, but they have a habit of really, in the way that a lot of Big Finish don't, they really capture the era. And I actually wonder if it's because you're not listening to a 95-year-old John Pertwee try and recreate it, and you've actually got someone who's doing their take on John Pertwee as he was in the 70s.
Yeah, possibly. And then he said he didn't know there was 7 of them. I think that's when they stopped numbering them.
Right, and now it's just
now they've
stuff.
Yeah, now they've just got like a kaleidoscope.
I want to see Collider. I won't see. I want to read. Read?
I want to see it too.
I want to see and
Russell
read it.
T Davis. Make kaleidoscope.
That's got a really cool cover, and you know, sometimes I'm a bit meh about Big Finish covers, but that one I was like, that looks like a firm slice of 70s Doctor Who. I'll have a bit
Yeah,
of that.
Pertwee on a snowmobile. Yeah, it looks great.
Also a Smith song. But
Too hot for TV.
look, I'm not doing the plot for Ravagers. I don't understand it. I've tried. I've really tried. I've been through various synopses, but I cannot tell you what the plot of Ravagers is. Go ask Nick Briggs.
Too hot for TV.
So, before we get into Ravagers, what is your general feeling on the televised version of the Christopher Eccleston era?
My first episode was Tooth and Claw, so I didn't grow up in quite a lot of way that everyone else seemed to with the Eccleston Doctor. But I think by the time series 2 had finished and I was really hooked on it, my dad had found some knockoff Eccleston DVDs that he managed to give me. And I think this is true. I mean, there's no one that can like deny it, but I think I watched them all in a day.
Oh, wow.
It was a case of just enjoying it so much. And I was so young that it was all just this amazing like series that washed over me. Now, I don't think I would have took any themes or anything out of it then, but yeah, so I never had sort of the emotion of Chris Eccleston leaving because he was already gone by the time I joined. So I don't have that like attachment. I think he's brilliant. I think he's a brilliant character, which almost defines him in a way from all the other Doctors in that he is sort of a character and not really a Doctor, which is might be why the Big Finish sets are slightly jarring because he's playing the Doctor. And did he play the Doctor on TV or did he play this slightly different character? I'm not sure.
Yeah, interesting. I also have watched all of the Eccleston series in a day. When I was at university, me and my friend Greg decided we were going to have an evening where we watched all of the episodes and we would down our drinks every time somebody died. And we were both violently sick by the end of the evening. It's a wonderful time.
You must have been made up at the end of the Doctor dances just for the rest.
I know we had to like throw everything back up again. No. So I remember obviously the anticipation of that first series and being like, Doctor Who's coming back and the build up and seeing bits of it. My main memory is that have you ever seen Christopher Eccleston on Jonathan Ross just before the series came back?
No,
so
it doesn't come to memory, no.
They showed like a trailer for the whole series. It was a montage of clips, about 2 or 3 minutes. And obviously I lost my shit. As one does, because, you know, been waiting for this your whole life. And I remember thinking, Doctor Who has never looked this good. Obviously, 20 odd years later, you look back and go, oh, that has not aged well. However, as much as I got swept up in it at the time, I don't love Christopher Eccleston as the Doctor.
Okay, interesting.
Like, he's in my bottom 3 or 4.
All right, okay.
I'm not going to go into details of it now because I think it plays into some of the things we're going to discuss here. But yeah, I really struggle with him as the Doctor. I completely love his era. I'm very nostalgic about it, but his take and his performance don't do it for me.
Did you sort of know where I'm coming from? Where it's like it's a different character, but it's a very good TV show. Yeah, I'm sort of expecting. I'm expecting Rusty Davis Shooty Gatwa to do the same sort of thing. I think for years I've always gone, oh, what would I do when I get hold of Doctor Who? And you know, you've got all these great arcs and plans and stuff, but you only ever think about it as a Doctor Who fan. Whereas I think Rusty Davis thinks about what's going to make a great TV show.
Yeah,
and I think that with Shooty Gatwa, he will define a new sort of character or angle for the character they can follow, rather than what like most of us would do, which is put him in quirky clothes and make him say quirky things and fight the Daleks. Do you know what I mean?
That Eccleston Doctor and to a certain extent the Tennis Doctor, they both have character arcs, whereas when you get to, say, Capaldi, it just seems to be, am I a good man? Oh, it turns out I'm a good man. Oh, I'm a mad good man in a box. And it's sort of 3 seasons of that. Matt Smith sort of redefines himself every season. Jodie's arc is, I don't really think she has one as like a doctor. She's just someone having a good time.
Yeah.
And with a sort of story of discovery of her past or not discovery of her past. But I think you're right. I'm struggling to sort of articulate the other Doctor's arcs in the same way as I would the Eccleston one or and potentially the Tennant one, because Foster T. Davis just knows what he's doing, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think what I would say is that this character in Ravagers is very different to the one that we saw on the TV, which, if we're going to dive into it straight away, it's just not the same person, is it?
No, and I think you get that with a lot of Big Finish, but it's more obvious here in that you're bringing someone back to a role they played 15 years ago, but the arc is complete. So you've got to ask them to do something new. And also they've developed as a performer and they want to try different things and they try different things they wouldn't years ago. So you do get this very different performance from him. I'd say just like Peter Davison's completely different on audio to how he was on TV because he was being played by someone in his 60s, not someone in his early 30s.
I think it's because Eccleston was coming back, because everyone is so familiar with that era, it was a big thing of like, well, where does he fit? And Big Fish are quite like open about this was going to be pre-Rose, but we're not going to give him a companion so that like it conserves that storyline. But I don't think it really does, because instead there's meant to be the Time War, and then he's really like bouncy, happy, doesn't really show any of this dark stuff, and then suddenly he's in Harrods in London and he's an angry, war-torn man. And what happened in between, I think it would have been better if it wasn't addressed, or if it was addressed, he just said, well, this is an alternate universe, or this is what would have happened if he'd split away Rose at the end of Part of the Ways and hadn't regenerated. This is just like some sort of alternate thing. But I know then you just get confused, and for confusing's sake, but I think it would help this angle of the character.
Well, since we're there, I'm not going to keep my thoughts on Christopher Eccleston a secret any longer. I don't think he's a very good actor.
Okay.
There's moments in Dalek on TV where he's shouting at a Dalek, and I just find him so unconvincing. And there are moments here where I'm just exactly the same. I just don't believe him as a performer.
Oh wow, that is controversial. I wouldn't go that far. Like on the TV, I think he's brilliant. I know people have issue with his sort of comedic performance on the TV, but I think I've never been took out of it watching him. I think he sells me on everything he does. On audio here, it was more the erratic, shouty performance. It's just sort of very strange and loud. And there's points when I just thought, just calm down. Like, Centurion. He just shouts that like 7 times. Centurion.
There was a moment where I almost smashed my phone in anger listening to it. I mean, I absolutely didn't. But he calls Nova a nerd and just sort of goes nerd and laughs at her, and it's so badly performed. I felt like I was listening to a fan audio.
I'm gonna when we finish talking about Ravagers, I'm ending on the point of the nerd, because it sort of sums up my thoughts. But yes, it's fucking terrible. But I mean, it's sort of good to have this grounded character of Nova to balance this like Doctor who's like an uncle after 7 panda pops, like just bouncing all over the shop. But then she doesn't get enough to do.
I mean, she's such a non-entity, isn't she?
Yeah, and I only like her because she's calm.
Is she a companion? Does she ever appear in anything else, or is she just there for that that one story or this
I
one story.
thought you'd be very familiar with the Eccleston box sets after the praise you give. Did you not follow through with any of the others?
I'm a Doctor Who fan. I listen to them all. No, the only other ones I've heard is the one with the Brigadier and the one with the Metropolis Cyberman one. Because you've never heard the Doctor, those people interact before. So I dipped into those, and I started listening to one other box set, and the first one was okay, and by the second one, I'd lost the will to live, and just was.
Ooh, what was that one? Go on.
I can't remember.
Did it have a jazz monster in it?
A jazz monster?
Yeah, the second set has the second story of the second set has a jazz monster.
Oh, maybe it was. I think the first story was it Respond to All Calls or something like that?
Yeah. That's the jazz monster turned you off then.
And there's like a ghost in the first one or something.
Yeah, Girl Interrupted, it's called.
Right, yeah, I thought that was okay. Someone was talking about one today on the internet, actually. Women's place in football or something like that.
Oh, it's got to be one of the new ones. See,
yeah.
Sorry, to rewind it back maybe to a bit more of a broader point, because I know we dived straight in on Eccleston there.
Bat on his grave. He's not dead. Unless Future Dylan pops in now, because by the time this release, Eccleston's tragically been murdered.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, this was so exciting, wasn't it? And it was an exciting year for Big Finish as well. I mean, you had Eccleston coming back to the role, and you had David Tennant doing Dalek Universe.
Because he didn't have any other work.
Yeah. And I had both like bundles pre-ordered, so like I was just waiting for these to come out.
I got them the day they dropped, and I remember I downloaded them, stuck them on my phone. I was staying in Windsor for work, and it was still sort of lockdown-ish. You know, you could go into shops, but you couldn't hang around too long, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I wandered around Windsor on my day off. I listened to the first one, and it was really exciting to hear him back. Despite I really like the Keys of Marinus, so I'm not going to shit on something for having bad acting or what I perceive as I'm not going to say it's bad acting, it's a performance that I don't engage with. I listened to the first one, I was like, okay. I listened to the second one, and then I just stopped. And I never heard that third one until you said, let's do Ravagers.
Yeah.
So I never...
Well, the last thing I'll say...
Really.
The last thing I'll say off topic is pre-ordered all of Series 1, was very excited. By the time that they announced Series 2, another 4 box sets, there was nothing I wanted to spend my money on less. I just had absolutely no interest for it. And now I don't know where he fits into like my favourite Doctors or whatever, but I do know any Tennant set or any Matt Smith set that was coming out, regardless of how bad the direction Big Finish was going, I would be buying. Right. I'd buy any Paul McGann set, even though I hate the Time War. But I just had absolutely no interest by the time out Series 2 of this.
Mark Donaldson said this, and I can't remember whether it was on a podcast or just to us in person or something like that, but he said, if you'd have told me 10 years ago there was a world where there was like 50 Christopher Eccleston audios and I'd listened to like 2 of them, I wouldn't have believed you.
Yeah, it's really true. To go on to Ravagers properly then, so I've listened to this 3 times.
Wow, you're a proper Doctor Who fan. I'm not.
Well, yeah. So the first time was obviously when it came out, and I remember that day the Big Finish website like broke because everyone was pressing download at the same time, and I was at work in a place with no like Wi-Fi, and I just couldn't get it downloaded quick.
I know that panic. Panic's horrible.
It was horrible. So I couldn't go on Twitter. I was like, I don't want spoilers. Turns out I wouldn't have got spoiled anyway because no one knew what the fuck was going on. So I listened to it, and I remember like thinking sort of the same criticisms that I saw elsewhere, which was, didn't really feel much for it, but like it was great to hear Eccleston back. And I think about a month later, I listened to it again, and all the plot clicked, and it felt quite satisfying that I'd understood it, and I was a bit more on board with the performance. And that was before like 2 or 3 weeks ago for this podcast. That was the last time I'd listened to it. So when I suggested doing Ravagers for the podcast, I think I was going to come on here and like defend it a little bit.
Are you?
This time, I was absolutely back to square one, if not like further back from that. I think that this is awful. It's an awful story. It's got awful dialogue. There isn't really a villain. We've mentioned Eccleston's performance, and although it's quite listenable, it's just not the same Doctor. I
Yeah.
think like Nick Briggs is very focused in on the chippy side of Eccleston's Doctor, but like he's not just beans on toast, is he? He's the man who rips Cassandra apart with his bare hands, like, and you just don't get any of that. Yeah, I mean, I want to dive into sort of the writing side of it, but it's truly terrible.
Eccleston said that it was the scripts as good as these that brought him back.
Well, I've got that written down here.
Yeah. What do you think? What would you think the appeal to Eccleston about these scripts?
Was it the like beautiful dialogue such as time eddies, control nodes, neutron stars, temporal energy, time space shadow, fear pheromones? Because these are all things that are mentioned over and over and over again. The technobabble on display. I mean, like you will have listened and read and everything more, probably more Doctor Who than me. Have you ever had as much technobabble in a script as this?
No, and actually, I'm reminded of a interview that Nicholas Briggs gave years ago when he was writing for BBV, and said, "What I try to avoid at all costs is what I call Geordi bollox," which is when in Star Trek: The Next Generation, Geordi LaForge had come along with an explanation for something, and it'd just be absolute techno-babble bollocks. And yet here we are. I'm going to jump in and defend Nick Briggs for a second. I actually think if this had come out 10 years before it did or something, before we were overly tired of the Big Finish machine, I think people would be a lot more favourable towards it because it would have felt quite refreshing and new. It's playing with narrative a bit and it's something a little different. But I just think we've seen and heard this so many times before, and it's not even it's just treading water. So
yeah.
that's I think that's a big problem with it.
I think a terrible problem as well is this was a big release, not just for like Doctor Who fans or Big Finish fans. You know, there was people that were coming to Big Finish for this release because it was such a big deal. And like this is just not the best example of anything they do. Doctor Who does, Christopher Eccleston does. Like this would just put anybody off. I mean, it's like £20 or something. If you've never spent £20 on an audio story and this is what you get, it's not gonna keep you coming back, is it?
No, it's just not the right thing to launch with. You could have done it 4 or 5 box sets down the line, and I hope that I do want to cover some more Eccleston audios on here, but I need people out there to go, these are really special. Check these out, because I'm not just going through this drivel.
It says something that I don't know how far into this podcast, like 40 minutes, and we've not even mentioned the story once because it's just a bit all over the place, isn't it?
I mean, what's it about? A thing 8-time messy timelines? What is it? I don't really know. I don't know why the last one's called Food Fight. I don't really know why any of them are called what they're called.
The food's fighting back.
Oh yes, of course.
He says at one point.
Yeah.
Do I try and summarize this quickly? Oh, you'll have probably done it at the beginning, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I will have dropped it in, and if I've lost the will to live, then I'll just put a link to the TARDIS wiki page, which,
yeah, he turns up on the station, and it's like midway through the adventure. There's time eddies everywhere. One of them stole Nova, and he's telling Audrey this for the whole of part 1. About how this has happened and where he's come from, and he came from, the like 1959 London, but it had Romans in it, and it had Romans in it because of the time eddies, and he tracked them there. And then I think any normal person on first listen probably thought, right, that's as confusing as it gets, and now we're still going to start getting answers. And then Cataclysm just throws it even more, and there's that bit in Cataclysm halfway through,
which should have been the name of the box set,
where they turn up to the game station again, but this time they've gone too far and they've gone past the plan that they do in Food Fight, and orgies kicking off because it's the end of the universe.
Yeah.
That was the bit first time around where I tapped out. The time where I tapped out this time was I got through that. I thought, right, I remember that being the worst bit. And then they go back to when Orgy was young and the Doctor like collapses. And then he appears as a ghost to Orgy. And when he started appearing as a ghost at the end of part 2, and I didn't remember anything about the ghost element. I was just thinking, oh my God, there's just so much going on.
It's like a really shit Flux, and I know you probably don't even like Flux, but
that is literally a great way to say it. It's Flux with no monsters and no fun,
no pace, no tension. It's like everybody used to shit on the long game, but I would watch the long game on repeat for a week rather than sit through this thing again. And I will live stream that if people pay me money. The cliffhangers are dull.
Oh my! Sorry, can we? Yeah, the first cliffhanger. So, tell me how this makes sense. I'm saying on a second listen, I understood all this, but this time around, so Orgy's been in disguise for 40 minutes while the Doctor's just been stood there telling her the story instead of actually doing anything. Then she says, "Oh, we're going to send you into a neutron star and destroy you, but you're going to know me from the future. But you're going to die. But you're going to know me from the future." and also what really annoyed me on a physics level, because I have a physics degree, was like that the TARDIS can't get away from a neutron star when like it literally flies a rocket away from a black hole, and commonly flies around black holes, which are a sunny that collapses into a small neutron star or a massive fucking black hole. I mean, that's just a petty thing, but the real like failure of the cliffhanger was that going, you'll meet me one day, but I'm sending you to your death. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, it was the cliffhangers are terrible. As I was saying about lack of tension, the music's terrible. I found the music so bad, and I was just like, this is trying to convey some sort of tension, but it just all like excitement or adventure or sadness, but that fails. It like
what do you think of the? I'd say iconic Howard Carter like Ninth Doctor theme, because that's almost associated with the Ninth Doctor now more than anything else. You know, the do 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 do. Do you not like that?
What is that his? Is that his?
That's like his Big Finish sting. The do do.
It can suck 10,000 dicks as far as I'm concerned. I gave no shits for it. It was lovely to hear his version of the theme tune, because we always hear the sort of season 4 where the da-da-da-does are really loud. So, in fact, the best thing about this was when they announced it and it was just Big Finisher doing Christopher Eccleston. You heard that theme tune and saw his face again, and we were like, yes, can it get any better? Being a Doctor Who fan, this is god tier moves. And then it happened. So yeah, the trailer is the best thing about it as far as I'm concerned.
I remember reacting badly to the trailer, but just because I didn't think he sounded like Christopher Eccleston, and then I convinced myself he did, and now I think no, he doesn't. In all the I did the thing. Not telling you the thing. The other thing.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. I had to write this down. I had to go back and write this down. But there's a line in Food Fight where he says, endless possibilities and events, future, past, and everything in between, all crushed and stretched. Right. So far, I'm like, okay. Then he says, surging and ebbing in an eternal swirl of unimaginable energies. And do you know what Nova replies? Very poetic. I thought, fuck off. I've read better poetry on the back of a penguin. It's stuff like this that makes me scoff when people, including Eccleston himself, talk about the quality of Big Finish scripts.
I know.
Or how Big Finish is better than the TV show. Like, no.
Quite a bold move here, and I wonder whether it's because Eccleston was more expensive than your average star of a Big Finish. Not shitting on any of the other Doctors, Colin Baker, but there's no returning elements. It's quite, especially in an era where Big Finish were very much the plunderers of nostalgia. it's interesting that it's a completely new, all new characters, but no new monsters, anything like that. It's quite a bold move, don't you think?
Yeah, it is. You gotta be careful what you wish for, really, haven't you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I mean, I'm like this as well. You know, as soon as the Big Finish announced that the Crotons are back with the Quarks and anyone, Professor Storm, and I'd be like, oh, they've got the fucking dartboard out. But then they do release the odd one that's just about like a waxwork museum with robots, and I think, well, I'm not buying that. It's fucking boring. So they can't win in a way.
No.
They've probably stripped this one back, as you say. They've already got the star power of Eccleston, and maybe it might have put people off and maybe they knew that this would appeal to more people than just the people that would buy Big Finish anyway. But even that whole series, there isn't really anything, is there? Like, you get the Sideman in 3, and you do get like the Brig, who actually sounds like the Brig because it's John Coleshaw.
Yeah, and he's met Sea Devils and Ice Warriors and shit like that. I'm thinking they can't do the Daleks, I'm assuming. I mean, it's not like Big Finish to try, but it would just completely ruin that series.
It will happen, though.
Yeah.
It's
I've lost my memory again.
Yeah, it's going to happen. You saying about lack of tension, is that sort of summed up by the fact that the villain's called Audrey? I say villain. She's made. I think this is another failure of the plot. She's made out to be a villain, but she's not really a villain.
No.
She's just a scientist who comes up with a plan to stop the universe ending, and it's not right. That's sorry, I know I keep talking, but that's stupid as well. Like, she's meant to be this scientist, and she goes, okay, they're feeding off fear pheromones, right? She's worked that out. So then she starts sending people through time in time eddies so that they get scared. So they feed the Ravagers, so the Ravagers don't eat the universe. That's the resolution, right? And then the Doctor goes, oh, hang on, no, it's their own fear pheromones. Like, are you telling me that wasn't the first thought through her head, is that they're feeding off their own fear? And then how he resolves it is just he puts a video game on loop for them to play for endless. But hang on, no, what does he say? Like, he downgrades the game and just loops some footage, but at random times puts stuff in. It's like your mum taking Red Dead Redemption off you and giving you Doctor Who Return to Earth on Wii, and you're expected to be just as excited with it. It's just shite.
Come back, Pip and Jane Baker, all's forgiven. That's what I say about this old shit.
I mean, how dumb are these Ravagers? It sounds like they'd be entertained by Underworld.
Should we talk a little bit about the cast? So we've got Nova, as we said, played by Camilla Beapot. We've got Faraday, played by Ben Lee. Quite awkwardly, Ben Lee is quite an old mate of mine, and I've never discussed this with him. I didn't even realise it was him. So I won't be thrown in a bonus interview with him because I've just slagged off this entire thing. Audrey's played by Jane McKenna. Then we've got Halloran, played by Jamie Parker. Marcus Aurelius Gallius, played by Dan Starkey. And Ravager, played by Claire Corbett. It's a very small cast.
I mean, I prefer the smaller cast ones because it's easy to understand what's going on. Well,
Is it really?
No, but usually it is. Like, I do struggle when there's quite a lot of voices and they're not distinct or they're not well characterized. So it's always hard on like a space planet or a spaceship when you've got loads of soldiers and you don't really know which one's which.
No, but when you've got 3 hours worth of story, you would hope you'd be able to carve out unique identities and personalities for each of these people and make them really characters you latch onto and would never forget in a million years. But not this time.
Yeah, I think like the part when it's really bad, on top of it, we just said, there's the first like 20 minutes of food fight. All the characters seemingly get together in the TARDIS because the TARDIS tracks DNA somehow. And that really sags when they're all together and all talking. Also, did you, just on an audio production point of view, I'm interested, did you think that like it was just really quick in part 1? Like, Audrey and the Doctor are having these conversations and it felt like there was no silence in between them. They were just sapping back and forth, and I thought, they weren't even talking about the same things at times.
Yeah, there's like no room ambience or like calmness or thought in between each sentence. It's just people reading lines.
Yeah, I thought no one talks that quick.
Because it was all recorded remotely, maybe whoever was editing it suddenly went, do you know what? We need to make this shorter, and when we can, all the pauses, we'll get rid of them.
Like a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I always cut the bit out where I go for a wee because it doesn't make good listening. Were any of the guest cast particularly standout performances for you? Was any of them you're like, oh, they're doing a good job?
So yeah, I struggled with Eccleston's performance, but I still like sort of on board with it. He brings an energy to something that could be really bloody awful.
What do you mean could be?
More awful. Nova, I thought was fine, but like just any sort of generic Big Finish character, really. Yeah. I thought Audrey was performed well, if I'm honest. Like considering that must have been such a hard brief for the actress. I thought at least she had sort of a distinct tone and she sort of had a bit of a presence. I can't say any of the soldiers or
no.
Anything. And when I heard Dan Starkey, I just think it's Dan Starkey. And he could be doing like King Lear, the best performance of King Lear. And I just think it's Dan Starkey. So he's sort of almost typecast by just his voice in a way.
And just by you, apparently.
Yeah.
Do you know,
I'm sure he won't give a shit.
No, I'm sure he won't. I have this problem with Tom Hardy. Whenever he's speaking in a film, at some point he always slips into Bane mode and it takes me right out there. I'll just be like, over there. And I can just... And so now, I mean, other people clearly don't have this because he's a very successful actor, but I just can't watch Tom Hardy films because he slips into Bane all the time for me. We've talked about this for quite a while. Are there any other major points you want to cover, or do you think we've ripped it apart enough?
I mean, I thought, is Audrey the strangest name for a villain of all time? But then on your most recent podcast, the villain was called Martin. So
yes, but it was done with such aplomb and delight and in a very whimsical sort of way, whereas this is just Audrey, the terrible villain who's not really that villainous.
I thought one thing that sort of worked was seeing her backstory and realizing she was just a scientist that came up with a plan to stop the Ravagers. If you strip all the technobabble back, I thought that was a nice idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe not done that well.
It's like Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were going to blow up all these people with this bomb. I've not seen the film, but I'm assuming that's what happens.
I've seen it. It's nothing. It's nothing like Ravagers.
Is it not? That's weird. The poster does look like a Torchwood Big Finish cover, though.
Yeah, Tom Price is not in Oppenheimer.
Or the running guy from Praxeus. He's just in the background. Are there any other major points?
Would it be wrong of me to describe this as chaotically structured?
No, not at all. It is chaotically structured. The thing is, I'm all for playing with narrative and a non-linear storytelling, and there are fantastic examples of that, and including Nick Briggs's Creatures of Beauty and his Dalek Empire range. But this just seems chaotic for the sake of it.
Yeah, and I sort of love when stories are all over the shop like this usually, and obviously did like it on a second listen when it all clicked into place, because I've probably had a bit of foreknowledge and then have gone in trying to crack it and not really listened to any sort of the dialogue. I on the whole think Nick Briggs is all right. It's fine. I just think this is a really, really poor showing of his stuff. And it's just they're getting bogged down in technobabble, and there's so much of it. And each one is a knock-on of the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So that, the fear pheromones come from the time-space shadow, which comes from the control node. And it's all just
the control node's connected to the fear, but no, that doesn't quite work.
It's all wibbly wobbly bollocks, isn't it? If we're ending it, I think that Ravagers ends on the whole Nova is a nerd thing. Yeah. So there's so many mysteries going on, or so much you don't understand because it's all a bit confusing. and there's this one running through of why Nova knows so much about time travel. It really shouldn't be as prominent as it is in a story this confusing, when the payoff is she just watches sci-fi.
Yeah.
And she's a nerd, and it's made all the more worse by Eccleston's like before the whole way the scene's played is just you're a nerd. That's how it is, and I think that moment sort of sums up the catastrophe of the story.
Could that be a little bit triggering for some fans, perhaps news?
We're all sat there as nerds listening to it. Yeah, I think it's dare to say a critical failure of Briggs's humour. Yeah. And I think overall that the whole like mystery is a massive distraction from the story.
Yeah.
Also, it's a bit of a failure that I like and prefer Audrey to Nova by the end.
Yeah, there is that. She's a more compelling and interesting character. That's why.
Yeah.
Nova's just a nerd. No one likes nerds, apparently.
Yeah, and she doesn't remember anything about the adventure anyway.
No, making the entire thing completely pointless. Just like Return to Telos.
A separate question. Yeah, you should really do a Briggs scene that's good because they are there. They are there.
Okay, quick question for you then. Which what are your top tier Briggs stories?
I love Dark Eyes. That was the thing that really got me into Big Finish. And like Dark Eyes 1, and I've listened to it multiple times. I think it's brilliant. It came to Lucy Miller and To the Death much, much later on. I thought they were absolutely brilliant. Creatures of Beauty is good. I think anytime you get them away from the Time War is generally better. I feel like I was going to say that there's probably plenty of Nick Briggs I haven't listened to. I think there's always going to be some Nick Briggs I've never listened to. I think that's a fact I'm going to have to.
Should we wrap it up on this one?
Yes,
which just which just leaves us to answer the question: is it a clanger? Is it a banger? Is it an average meander?
I've listened to this 3 times, and may I never have to listen to it again. A clanger.
It fucking clangs, mate.
Too hot for TV.
So, Luke, tell everybody what your second choice is.
Endgame, the first 8th Doctor comic in the Doctor Who magazine.
And it was printed in Doctor Who magazines 244 to 247. Cover date 23rd of October 1996 to the 15th of January 1997. Written by Alan Barnes. The artists were Martin Geraghty, Robin Smith, and Robin Riggs. Letterer was Alita Fell. The BBC at the time were gearing up for a big relaunch of the Doctor Who license, having pulled Virgin's license for New Adventures, and they were launching their own book range. They had just announced their BBC Books guidelines, which said they were looking for books around 250 to 300 pages, and the authors have been told that they should not explain the ancestry of the Doctor. He should be a mystery and stay that way. We don't need to know too much about him, which includes whether or not he is half human. Over at Virgin, they were just pushing out the last few of their new adventures. But a crisis struck. Ben Aronovich failed to deliver his manuscript for So Vile a Sin, which was due to be the November release. So there was no release in November, and instead it was released right at the end of the range with somebody else filling in for him and basically completing it. I don't really know what happened there. I think it was something to do with his mental health. But basically, I don't know whether you know this, but it meant that the character of Ros Forrester died in a book that was not published, and then the next book that came out was just everybody going, "Oh, it's so sad that Ros is dead."
Oh no, I did not know. I did not know.
And if you want a copy of that book now, it'll set you back about £200. Virgin also announced that they will be carrying on the new adventures with Bernice Summerfield only and doing some factual books. Rex Tucker, who had been influential in the creation of the show, had just died, and this is a fucking disaster. I remember when this happened. There was a fire at Longleat. A sparking K9, basically in the middle of the night, caused a fire which destroyed the pterodactyl android from the Visitation, the space station from Trial of a Time Lord, the nucleus of the Swarm from The Invisible Enemy, a whole bunch of original Cybermen heads and other monster masks.
God.
Fucking K9. What a prick. I remember being a 13-year-old and being quite cut up about that and disappointed. It was like, oh, those beautiful original models.
Yeah, I'll never see the Swarm.
We've got reading it now, it still hurts. At the TV 60 Awards, which was celebrating 60 years of television, Doctor Who won the Public Vote Award for Most Popular Drama, much to the surprise of everybody there, including the entirety of the EastEnders cast who'd shown up expecting to win it. And you literally, the footage is out there somewhere online, and it cuts to someone from EastEnders going, fuck.
Did John Pertwee get the award? Was he
No, he died a few months before.
Oh, shit.
Classic Pertwee. Because he'd show up to anything. No, it was.
That's what I thought.
It was Sylvester McCoy, Colin Baker, and Peter Davison were there to collect it.
I wouldn't have expected that.
And then the only other news was the Australian censor clips had just been discovered. So we could see little bits of people getting stabbed in the smugglers for the first time.
Yes.
Good times. Merch-wise, books that we have The Missing Adventure, The Plotters, featuring the First Doctor, Ian, Barbara and Vicky by Gareth Roberts, don't mention him. New adventures-wise, we have Bad Therapy featuring the Seventh Doctor, Chris and Perry, apparently.
Oh.
We had The Missing Adventure, Cold Fusion, featuring the Fifth Doctor, Adric, Tegan, Nissa, the Seventh Doctor, Chris and Roz. It was wild times. they, sounds like they were doing Big Finish before Big Finish was doing Big Finish. Miscellaneous books at the time: the Third Doctor Handbook, John Pertwee's I Am the Doctor autobiography, the 80s hardback, Doctor Who Fun Facts. Do you know what a fun facts is? Did you have fun facts when you were kids?
No.
It was just basically like a little file of facts type thing, and you buy different books about, like, it could be about a TV show, it could be about science, and you'd open it and it'd tell you about the history of Doctor Who. Great times.
Okay.
The Completely Useless Encyclopedia and the Nth Doctor book. Do you know the Nth Doctor?
No.
The Nth Doctor was a bloody good book, and you can pick it up for a couple of quid, although it's probably all online now. It was a look by Doctor Who historian Jean-Marc Lefisier at all the unmade Doctor Who movies from that point. It had synopsis for them all and like a little bit, like a page's worth of like behind the scenes information.
Oh, yeah, that sounds sick.
And then on home media, you had the William Russell Mythmakers VHS, The Green Death and the Leisure Hive on VHS. We had the release of The Devil of Winterborn and the Unnatural Selection from BBV, from Probe, and a Laserdisc of Day of the Daleks and Ark in Space. So a whole host of Doctor Who merch right there.
Yeah, God.
Glory days.
Yeah, I know.
Too hot for TV.
The Doctor arrives in Stockbridge and is attacked by doll-like people. He is rescued by Izzy Sinclair and Maxwell Edison. They explain that Stockbridge has been invaded by aliens. They are chased by two fox-headed hunters and Marwood, as Izzy has a pendant that belongs to Marwood. They head to the TARDIS, but the Celestial Toymaker is there waiting for them. The Toymaker wants a rematch with the Doctor, but the Doctor and Izzy escape while Max is captured. The Doctor and Izzy must play the Toymaker's games. The Doctor plays a deadly version of Hangman with Izzy in the gallows. He loses and hands over the Focus, which was the pendant that belonged to Marwood, which is part of a machine known as the Imagineum, which turns light into matter. The Toymaker uses this to create his own champion, which is a dark version of the Doctor. Izzy and Max are forced to play a game of mousetrap, pursued by the Huntsman, while the Doctor battles himself. The Doctor manages to convince his doppelganger that the Toymaker will never set him free. Izzy and Max defeat the Huntsman by dropping weights on them. Marwood turns on the Toymaker as he was upset about the death of his Huntsman. So the Toymaker kills him. This convinces the Doctor's doppelganger the Toymaker won't set him free. He distracts the Toymaker, uses the Imagineum to create an even more evil Toymaker, who drags the real Toymaker back to where he came. The Doctor's doppelganger then destroys the Imagineum and himself. The Doctor invites Max and Izzy to travel with him, but only Izzy agrees.
Too hot for TV.
So, you came to Doctor Who with the new series. So, what is your relationship with the Eighth Doctor comics?
Oh, wait, will it surprise you to know that I read Cold Fusion when I was about 11?
Yes, that does surprise me.
I got into, maybe a bit later, maybe 14, something like that. But
even so, that's not what people were doing. How old were you when you were 14? That's not a question. What year was it when you were 14?
Yeah, it would have been 2010.
Yeah, no, not a lot of people. You're probably the only person that year to read that.
Yeah, I And what's the missing adventure where Colin Baker's on the front holding an axe? Time of Your Life by Steve Lyons.
Yeah.
I was reading that on a school trip on a coach. I've got a really very but why I got Cold Fusion, it would have been a reaction to buying Lungbarrow, reading Lungbarrow, and then looking at like what was the next big lore thing that happened in the books. There must have been something in Cold Fusion. It might have just been the fact there was two doctors in it, but I remember buying it for like 30 quid on eBay.
Oh, wow.
And as a kid, that was like everything. That was
Yeah.
the whole 30 quid. Like,
It's not even that good.
no, I remember not liking it, so I sold it back on eBay, and it is one of the only Doctor Who things I think I've ever sold back.
Oh, really?
And I almost
much
regret it now. I think it's a lot more now.
It is. I completed my New Adventure set a few years ago, and I definitely paid more than 30 quid for it.
Yeah.
Well, you made a terrible mistake there, my friend. That could be your pension.
I do have Lungbarrow signed by Sylvester McCoy.
Oh, signed by Sylv.
Yeah. He didn't know what it was.
No.
I was like, I put it in front of him. I was like, this is the story where we find out who you are. He's like, I just signed it. Yes, whatever.
That'll be 25 quid, please.
Yeah.
So, you came to Doctor Who through the new series. So, what is your relationship with the Eighth Doctor comics?
Yeah, well, the comics in general, I think when I was a lot younger, I had 3 of the graphic novels. I had the Iron Legion, Dragon's Claw, and this one, Endgame.
Right.
I don't know why I bought them. Like, I don't know why I really had them, because I don't remember ever being into the comics. I don't remember reading them for the first time round. And even when I used to get Doctor Who magazine, I don't particularly remember being excited for the comics or reading the comics. But I obviously just had them. I think I might have had the Eighth Doctor one because, like anything Eighth Doctor, there's no TV stuff, so you sort of like dive in to see what that Doctor's like everywhere else. But this year in particular has been like the year of the comics for me, and I am absolutely racing through the graphic novels collections of all the Doctor Who magazine strips. So I've done the 4th Doctor, the 6th Doctor, the 10th and 11th Doctor. I'm sort of halfway through the 7th Doctor now. But then saying all this, there must have been a point where I just specifically got into the 8th Doctor comic strips maybe 7 or 8 years ago, because a couple of years later, when I was about 16, 17, I completed the set. So I had Endgame, Oblivion, The Floods, and whatever the other one is. But like, even now, I've not gone back through them apart from Endgame. So all I really remember is that there's this and Croton the Sideman and a strip where he wakes up in bed with Grace Holloway and and one where he turns into Nick Briggs. Apart from that, I have no idea like what the rest of the strip is about. Really,
I've read all of these at the time. This is my Doctor Who comics era, so I think I started. Even though I've been buying Doctor Who magazines since I was about 7, I think I only really started reading the comic from Ground Zero, because it was like, oh, this is going to tie up into the TV movie. So read that, saw the TV movie, and then bang, you've got the 8th Doctor comic strip, and it felt like it's an ongoing, brand new series of Doctor Who, albeit over 8 pages in DWM. This was the first 8th Doctor comic in Doctor Who magazine. The Radio Times pipped them to the post a little bit, though, by having a Doctor Who comic strip, which I think launched about a week after the TV movie and ran for like 30 episodes, but they literally had 8 panels. It's a big, bold statement, isn't it? It does feel like a brand new series of Doctor Who, don't you think?
Yes, this is a fresh page. I mean, as soon as you turn the page, it's one big picture of Paul McGann stood outside the TARDIS.
The hero.
And this is the new era.
But at the same time, it's quite a comforting setting, and one that readers of the magazine will know well. We all love Doctor Who in our quaint English villages with strange goings on. It could be a Pertwee story, it could be an episode of the Avengers or whatever, but it's it's just a good opening story for a brand new season of Doctor Who.
Yeah, that sort of sleepy English village is just never going to get old, is it? I mean, it works well as an opener. I mean, the 11th Hour shows that.
Yeah.
That maybe if the environment's reliable, then you can just sort of get involved with the new stuff that's going on, I suppose.
Exactly. Quite quickly, there's some mysterious goings on, and it's revealed that the big bad is the Toymaker. Are you a fan of the Toymaker in general, and indeed here?
What a great question. I was quite surprised. So I read this and then looked up, like, how many times did the Toymaker come back? I was quite surprised at how little it is.
Yeah.
He's really not around in extended media, and you think for the way people talk about him and stuff that they, people would write stories about it. The Celestial Toymaker, if anyone's ever seen it or seen the telesnaps of it, you can only come away from that story and think it's shit. the only people who think that the Celestial Toymaker is good are the people that haven't seen it, or the ones that have just seen part 4.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's such a revelation when you watch it, when you actually watch the story telesnap wise, and you realize it's awful.
Absolutely. It is a dreadful story, and one that for some reason resonated with fans, and like it's one that my dad remembers, and people that it was one of the early myths of fandom that the Celestial Toymaker was a big lost classic. And then we all saw episode 4 and everybody went, well, the other 3 episodes are amazing. Episode 4 is a bit of a letdown. And then we all heard the soundtrack and everybody went, well, the visuals are really amazing. You have to see it. But honestly, it's like, really? Or were you just 7 years old?
I mean, like, I think episode 4's fine, but that might be because it's coming off the other 3. It is something to do. I think it digs into the fact it's just like games, and it's just an easy thing to really like watch and enjoy. Rather than your usual sort of technobabble like we've just had in Ravagers. You don't really get any of that. It's a fantasy land with games, and easily the best thing about the Celestial Toymaker is the villain, the Toymaker.
Yeah.
Just as an idea, as a concept, even if it's not done that well. So I think that's what surprised me even more. So if it's not done that well, I'm surprised he hasn't come back. Because when I looked up, the only ones I can really find is the Nightmare Fair, which is the Lost Season 22 story, which is shit. But that doesn't do anything with games, really. He just sort of sulks about under Blackpool. There's the Magic Mouse Trap, which I don't know if you ever heard it, but you'll be okay. I bought this on Tuesday night and wolfed it down so that I was prepared for this podcast.
Amazing. I can't really remember it, but I remember enjoying it. I know a lot of people didn't, but I remember thinking, oh, this is quite good.
Yeah, I think it was really, it felt like Ghostlight, but with a villain. They're saying that the Toymaker's not particularly in it, but it uses his concept well. And
when it was released, they didn't announce the Toymaker was in it. So
that makes sense.
It was a real sort of, again, punch the air moment where you're like, oh, this all feels a bit Toymaker-ish, and then towards the end he shows up. My issue with the Toymaker in the television story and a few other things is he's a bit like the Riddler in Batman, where the Riddler comes on and says all these amazing riddles, and everybody walks around, and I'm talking even the most recent Batman film, going, what does this possibly mean? And it's like a child's riddle that it's like anybody could get the answer for, or you just Google it. And so that's how I felt a bit about the Toymaker's games, even though they were a bit deadly in the TV version. The comic book format, though, I think it's the perfect medium. You get that snakes and ladders thing, and it looks terrifying. And it's only snakes and ladders with such an obvious idea. But comics just lend itself so much to this concept of the Toymaker, I think.
No, you're exactly right. It feels weird because I've never reviewed or analysed the comic. I wouldn't really know where to start with it. I can only just go off like gut feeling of what I thought. Whereas like an audio and be like, oh, the writing or the dialogue wasn't particularly good. And I feel like I can quite validly comment on that. With comics, no idea. But I think the thing that really stood out in this was the visuals. And I'm saying that as like I've been absorbing all these comics over this year, all these Doctor Who comics, and the visuals in this really bloody stood out. And it was because you had the Toymaker in it that allowed them to happen. I mean, for me, and probably for you, the cliffhanger to part 2 was the most insane bit of artwork I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
It's the one where they're walking through Stockbridge, and then he's actually got them inside. Stockbridge is inside a snow globe, and he shakes it, and the whole page is this manic look on the Toymaker's face as he's shaking the snow globe.
Yeah.
I mean, that is such a mental. That was the snap of the comic for me, but that is like shows the power and the craziness and everything you want the Toymaker to be in one big A4 page.
Absolutely. And I think what's interesting is that Michael Gough performance is seen as quite iconic, but I do think it's a role that other people could play. And it's more about, because the original's so shit, it's about the power of the performer. Whereas what this comic does is make the villain, make the idea of the Toymaker one of the most powerful thing, like the Eternals in Enlightenment. And you go, oh, wow, this is a god, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Toymaker's not the only familiar element here. So we also have Max Edison showing up. Do you know anything about him?
I not particularly. I think he might have been in one of these Fourth Doctor ones that I've seen. The whole Stockbridge thing really comes into the Fifth Doctor comics, I think.
Well, I thought that. But that's,
okay.
I mean, Stockbridge appears, yes, throughout. But Max Edison's first appearance was in The Stars Fell on Stockbridge with the Fifth Doctor in 82. But this is only his second appearance. But he would show up loads in the Eighth Doctor run. He also meets the 10th Doctor and the 12th Doctor, and also shows up in the Fifth Doctor audio Eternal Sunshine, voiced by none other than Mark Williams from the Fast Show and Rory Williams' dad.
Yeah, so I'm quite looking forward to diving in. It's Stockbridge is like a village that I think if you sort of read the comics, you just know that that's a thing. It's a place where they always return to, and sort of things happen. But I've never done the Tides of Time, so I just don't know like that where it all gets set up. I do sort of remember it being in the 10th Doctor run though.
Yeah. It's the comics safety. It's like their unit or something like that. They keep coming back to. And I love that in this version of we're launching the 8th Doctor comic run, they go, we are going to build on our own mythos and pull out things from the comics past, because it is such a rich place to pull from, as apparently Russell T Davies thinks also.
It so is. Like, it just reading through them this year, like the idea that Russell T Davies is going to start, or even if it is just beat the meep, you know, that in itself is great. But if he does start pulling other things out of the comics, there's so much good stuff there that we can use.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't be adverse to them taking stories wholesale from these comics. Obviously, in order to adapt them, you have to change the format, which is something comics fans don't understand when they see film versions of, like, why didn't you just do the comic? Well, because it would have lasted about 24 seconds. But
I was just about to say the same about this. I would love to see this as a Shitty Gatwa story.
I mean, we might even see it in the 60th. We don't know what the actual plot of the Toymaker stuff is.
It's true. I mean, but like when they made Human Nature as a 10th Doctor story, I wouldn't have been a fan in them circles at the time, but were people annoyed about it because it ended up being so good?
No, I think most people were just like, well, it was one of the best books and now it's one of the best TV stories. I think most fans, I feel like the word canon and the obsession with canon is a newer thing. Like, Doctor Who fans obviously have always wanted things to piece together, but when there was just, it always felt like back in the day there was a TV series and everything else was like meh. And whereas now everybody wants it to be interwoven. But I just think exploit those stories, do them again and again. Do the Flood, you know, do them all.
I don't think like it's any sort of issue with, say, Big Finish or comics or whatever. I think there's a natural point where you realise that it can't all be canon, and that you're just going to have to let go. Saying that, I think it enhances a story if you can believe it fits within the Doctor Who thing. So like with Ravagers, because it doesn't feel like that would ever fit in Eccleston's run at any point, it sort of undermines it. But the 8th Doctor, I think that's why I enjoy any 8th Doctor story, is because it's just a free ground, isn't it? It's uncharted waters.
The only issue we have with that now is the fact that we've now seen the end of his life on television, and so all of a sudden it's like everything else beyond that feels like a bit of a stretch, you know, especially as Paul McGann gets older.
Yeah, and I like Night of the Doctor as much as anybody else, but it's like a bit strange where he has these huge stories like the Flood or Doom Coalition or something like that, and what actually kills him off after like infinite amounts of stories is like a little thing on a spaceship.
Yeah, well, it happens to the best of us.
I suppose so. I mean, Colin Baker fell off a bike, didn't he?
Yeah, and the first Doctor just sort of went, I'm bloody knackered.
I'm off.
So we also get a new companion show up in this in the form of Izzy.
Izzy is a nerd.
It's handled much better, isn't it? She is a nerd. She's one of us. She's a Star Trek fan.
She references the Enterprise, doesn't she?
She does. The thing is, it's just her introduction's very economically done. We know she was adopted. We know she's a bit of a nerd, and that's all you need. And to sell that character a little bit with it and how she responds to danger in the sort of the storytelling of comics. Like, I think you just get everything you need to know about her very quickly.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that the comic made time for a slight bit of backstory. The mention in the orphanage, because it was literally like a panel, and then you just moved on. But it was enough. It was enough to make your Doctor Who fan brain go, "She's the new companion."
Exactly.
And I mean, she's just Bill Potts, isn't she? 20 years earlier.
Yeah, she's for Doctor Who fans, she's a nerdy woman. Like, I'm sure there was a few Doctor Who fans that fell in love with that cardboard comic character right there, because she was an attractive, non-existing woman.
Yeah, does she go out with an alien at some point? That the tall
Shade.
Am I getting confused?
In her final story, she gets with this alien and makes out with they basically become a couple. And it's the Doctor Who's first lesbian kiss. Yes,
I don't remember that, but I saw it in one of the most recent Doctor Who magazines because Russell T was talking about that kiss.
Yeah, and when it happened, Doctor Who magazine got 2 letters. One was a letter of complaint saying I'm never buying the magazine again, and the other one was from Russell T Davies going, "What an amazing thing to do." So, there we go. So this comic started life as 2 different strips, one called The Hand of God and the other one called The Stockbridge Changelings. They were both sort of so-so. They weren't quite sure what they were doing with them, but they also weren't sure whether they would have the rights to use the 8th Doctor. So it would have been a run of 4th Doctor stories. People forget about this now, but the Doctor Who rights situation after the TV movie was a little bit murky, and it's why you never get Grace show up in Big Finish. It's why they've managed to use the Eric Roberts Master now, but I suspect that's because the character of the Master is copyright BBC. But there was a world where after the TV movie, you didn't get the 8th Doctor audios or comics or books because of the deal with Fox. Scarcely bears thinking about, doesn't it?
God, yeah. I mean, yeah, I just because I think I've realised this year that just the fact that David Tennant is coming back as the 14th Doctor is just the most exciting thing in the world. Whereas David Tennant coming back as the 10th Doctor would be great, but it's nothing exciting. And you need new Doctor Who in the world, and it needs to feel like authentic Doctor Who. And so, just going back to Tom Baker just wouldn't have cut the mustard.
Yeah, it would have been fine, but this feels like you're invested as a Doctor Who fan. Even now coming to it, you go, well, this is the start of a new era of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And it's exciting because it is that big, triumphant, heroic shots you start with of the 8th Doctor being the 8th Doctor, looking more 8th Doctor than he's ever looked before. And you go, right, we're on a ride here, whereas otherwise it's just another bit of throwaway Tom Baker 4th Doctor story that you can get anywhere.
Yeah, and I think, and even though we can talk about people that are anal about canon, I think it does fall into the fact that, we know how the 4th Doctor's story begins and ends. It's just a lot more exciting when you can go anywhere, and you don't know where it's going to end. So,
as I said, it's written by Alan Barnes. What are your thoughts on his storytelling?
Yeah, I always seem to really like Alan Barnes. I think he's got crazy ideas, Always interested, always got pretty good dialogue, and yeah, I think he's generally brilliant on the whole.
It's a real page turner. It's very economical storytelling because it's a comic, and what I like is I like the way he dispatches the Toymaker in this sort of perpetual stalemate with a version of himself. You know, we had the sort of other version of the Doctor early in the comic strip, and it's like getting rid of a godlike character like that can lessen it, I think, sometimes. But like even in the original Toymaker, where it's like, oh well, you lost the game, so there we go. What, he didn't have any fail safes?
It was, to be fair, that was my only minor gripe, but it wasn't the idea that he sort of spawned a new evil Toymaker. It was more the duplicate evil Doctor being talked around by the real Doctor because the Toymaker killed his mate in front of his eyes, and that seems slightly easy to me. I really understand that it's like so hard to end these things. And that, as an idea, sort of like it was like that idea of Colin Baker and the Valyard fighting each other for eternity, except it's two Toymakers going down the Matrix. Hang on, I've got one for you. So I really enjoyed like the games and stuff in this, and this year, quite early in the year, I was getting into cryptic crosswords. Have you ever done any cryptic crosswords?
I'm terrible at crosswords.
Do you know how to do cryptic crosswords? They've got like weird rules to them.
I've got no idea. Are you about to make me do a cryptic crossword?
I am, yeah, live. I thought the Toymakers do it games. I'll do one.
Oh my god!
So there was actually all the way through part 1 of Endgame. There's cryptic crosswords throughout the strip.
Really?
Really, really. And on the final page, that's why it says, "Yet O Mark reveals a villain." Is like the final thing it says before it's that big spread of the Toymaker.
Right.
So cryptic clues in crosswords are made up of a definition, which is what you're looking for, and like the thing that is scrambling the definition. So
I'm not smart enough for this.
No, hang on, stay with me. So usually the thing that scrambles or is a bit weird is where you're going to get your letters from, and then the definition is usually the boring bit. So Yeto Mark reveals a villain. Well, Yeto Mark seems a bit funny, and then a villain seems like the definition. And reveals, I can't remember what they call that, but reveals can be like, sort of mixed, or it basically implies that there's an anagram, and so the letters of Yeto Mark is an anagram for Toymaker, and that's the answer to the cryptic clue.
Right.
So that's on the page. That's on the final page of part 1 of Endgame. But I've got a cryptic for you.
Go on.
So it's along the same lines to help. So it's like sort of an anagram with an indicator.
I'm ready.
And it sticks out like a sore thumb because it took me ages and I couldn't get it right. But G, just the letter G, like G, comma.
Yeah.
It's bedrock messed up by Toymaker. G, comma. You can like the comment doesn't have to factor in. It's just so the sentence works. Right. G, it's bedrock messed up by Toymaker.
G, bedrock messed up by Toymaker.
It's bedrock.
It's bedrock. It's not. It's combat rock. No. What?
So what was messed up by the Toymaker in this story?
Stockbridge?
That's it. That's the answer. So G, it's bedrock, is an anagram of Stockbridge, and
there we go. Got
and it. The letters are.
I just heard rock and went combat rock.
Great.
I'll hit this to make it sound like I fucking smashed it though.
Joey, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that was
record
quick.
Time. That was some sort of world record. So Endgame. I think we're nearly at the end with Endgame, but let's talk quickly about the art. It was Martin Geraghty, Robin Smith, Robin Riggs. Is there any favourite images you want to talk about that you haven't talked about already?
Not really. I really liked the big ones, just the full A4 ones. So the Doctor stepping out the TARDIS, the Toymaker reveal was nice.
It's amazing. Yeah.
I think comics are are really good when you get them turn the page shit
Yeah.
moments. If I was writing a comic and I've got no idea really how the methods involved, but I would work towards that final turn the page. What's going to be left on the mind for a week?
Yeah.
I sort of skim through comics quite quickly, sort of just
Me
read the
too.
dialogue, and I don't really look at the art. So it really has to be like popping in my face for
Yeah.
me to take it.
Anything else you want to say on Endgame that we haven't covered already?
Talking about like the other Toymaker stories, I don't know about Divided Loyalties. That was
I've
one
never
that
read
came
it.
up. It's a BBC book. I don't know how much he's in it, or if if it's like a
He's on
solo
the
story.
cover.
Yeah, so that could be a big one. But the only other one that was out there that was a big finish one was Solitaire. Have you
The
listened to that?
Companion Chronicle.
Yes.
I have. I can't remember it, but I remember enjoying it
It's
again.
brilliant. It's a John Dorney one, and
He always smashes it, doesn't he?
it's got a really good, satisfying ending, which I think with the Toymaker you need,
Yeah.
just because, as you say, it's like a Riddler thing. It's got to be really clever to start off with, and then you've got to find a way to outsmart that.
Yeah.
So
I would love to. I might revisit that at some point. I keep having to tell myself, you don't have to save it for a podcast. You can just listen to it. And just because you listen to it doesn't mean you have to do a podcast on it.
Yeah, I sort of like, because I know Beat the Moop's coming back, because I assume the Toymaker's coming back, I've like just tried to consume everything that both of them have been in, so that when I've sat down for the Star Beast, I can just be fully immersed in all the spin-off media for when it's
So Endgame, banger, average, meander.
Total banger. I think that for me, this is the best showing of the Toymaker in any of the extended media, and I've checked, and, and it is, and like so far. So, I mean, I just loved this so much that I was excited reading it, and because it was so good, like I wrote the first short story I'd done in a year. But I'd paused writing stories because of the Ultimate Doctor Who ranking, which took up my life. But yeah, I've wrote a short story that I wrote quite quickly in like 3 hours, and I've not really. I read it back and I've not really touched it, and it's just sort of ready to go. And it's the 12th Doctor facing off against the Toymaker,
Brilliant.
which is a showdown that I think has to happen.
Yeah.
It's my duty to put it out there, and mate, I think by the time this podcast goes out, it will be out. I've got a friend who's drawing some artwork for it.
Amazing.
And yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Well, high praise indeed, and it's made you create something for the first time in ages, so that's amazing. I look forward to reading your version of the Celestial Toymakers showdown with Doctor Who.
I just hope it's better than the Nightmare Fair.
I've had diarrhea that's better than the Nightmare Fair, don't worry. Well, for me, it's also a banger. It's a fantastic start to a fantastic run of Doctor Who stories, and in a strange way, one of my favourite runs of Doctor Who stories, even if it may not be a big, bold return to television.
Too hot for TV.
So we survived Ravagers. We loved Endgame. It's another episode of Doctor Who Too Hot for TV done. Luke, tell people where they can find you on the internet.
Well, I'm on Twitter or X at Lost. Is it Lost_Gallifrey? Yeah, and my link to my blog is there, and the blog is where the Ultimate Doctor Who ranking went up. That was me ranking all the episodes between Christopher Eccleston's first story, Peter Capaldi's last story. Sort of a little essay on all of them with all my memories and anecdotes and analysis and jokes all thrown in there. It was about 2 years worth of work. I'm really happy that it's done, and I'm really like happy looking back at it. And I think it's great, especially if I've got a podcast as well. It's like, what do you think of this story? I've basically banged up my thoughts in the best possible way I could have articulated them in that. So that's right at the top of the blog at the moment. But yeah, I'll be releasing the Game of Luck, which is the 12th Doctor versus the Toymaker. Little short story, about 4 pages. That'll be coming soon. The artwork's beautiful as well, what I've seen of it. And yeah, that's where I am.
Amazing. Well, I'll look forward to reading that, and I'm going to review it on the podcast and tear it. But no, I know I look forward to reading that. So thanks for joining me today. Next time, I'll be joined by Jack, Mark Rawlins, and Joe Ford, and we'll be doing a commentary for the BBV drama Cyberon by Lance Parkin. But until then, I've been Dylan.
I've been Luke. Thanks so much for having me on.
And this has been Doctor Who, Too Hot for TV. If you've been affected by the issues discussed in this episode of Too Hot for TV, such as canonical tampering, plot art depression, and chibnall repulsion, you can give us a call on 0891 50 50 50. That's 0891 50 50 50. Or grow the fuck up, you stupid little man baby.
Too hot for TV.
Just to finalize this, when I looked, I thought, no, surely not. But there is a blog out there called Cryptic Who that makes cryptic Doctor Who crosswords.
Oh my god. Wow, there we go.
That's the real Toymaker, ladies and gentlemen.
That'll be one for the Christmas episode this year. I'm pulling you back in to.
Sorry, yeah,
no, to do all the cryptic crosswords. That's it. We're just going to do 10 hours of that. Thanks for going to the trouble of doing that.
We should do some Toymaker shenanigans.
Is it because I dropped a quiz on Love and Monsters on you last time you were on?
Maybe. I'll never forget Woolwich. Where did Mr. Skinner spot the TARDIS? And I didn't know. Was it fucking Woolwich?
Well,
too hot for TV.